is Contemporary Chinese, Revised Edition, Volume 2, Lesson 6, and it's the second list of words and expressions. So we're going back to our compass points again, and we start off with east, 东部, and we also have west, 西部. So 东部 and 西部 will refer to the eastern or western part of a country. So you might talk about 中国的东部, the eastern part. 部 means part, amongst other things. In China, they will often refer to the north and the south as, we saw in the previous list, 北方 and 南方. But when it comes to talking about the eastern part of China and the western part of China, they then switch to this. They call it 东部 and 西部. And I'm not saying this is the only reason, but part of the problem with using the, going back to the other one where we talk about 北方 and 南方, in Chinese, if you talk about 东方, or you talk about 西方, they have a different meaning. 东方means, the east, as in Eastern countries, Eastern culture in Asia. 西方 means the West, as in, Europe and all the other English-speaking countries like USA, Canada, Australia, and so on. So that's referring more to the cultural divide than actual geography. I mean, it does have that implication of geography in it, but it's more talking about the cultural divide. So whereas, 北方 and 南方 in China, yes, it refers to a cultural divide, it refers to a linguistic divide, and so on. But it can also refer to the geographic parts of China. So just be aware of that. You can't use 东方 and 西方 in relation to a part of a country. Moving along, we have the word for building or floor, which is 楼, 楼. And you may recall that in our last computer lab on Chinese Island, when you guys bought the corn, 玉米, or the tea eggs, 茶叶蛋, that you then became ill and you had to go and find the hospital, 医院, and that hospital was on the second floor of the multi-story building on Chinese Island. And so that was 二楼, 二楼. Some of you, I think, actually asked the corn and tea egg seller where the hospital was, and I think the response you got back was 在二楼. So that's how that's used. There's also the word 层, 层. It means basically the same thing. I guess the difference between 层 and 楼 is that whereas 层 only means story or floor in a building, 楼, while it has that meaning, can also have the meaning of a building. A building. So the measure word for a building is 一座楼. That middle character is 座. Now we've learned 坐 as in to sit, and you'll notice that the inside part of that character is the same character for to sit, but the outer part of it is the character for a building, or a big structure. And so it's kind of like sitting inside a big structure. There's a roof and a chimney on the roof and so on. 一座楼. How would I know the difference between, if somebody was telling me second floor and building number 2? So we've got 二楼 for second floor, and if it was building number 2, it would be 二号楼. So there's the difference. If somebody just says 二楼, 三楼, 四楼, well, there's no 四楼 in China, then it means floor or story, and it could also be said as, 二层, 三层, etc. But if they're talking about the whole building, if it was building number 2, 二号楼. Now, moving on, we've got bedroom. 卧室. 卧室. So the first character here, 卧, is going to come up again in the next lesson on Chinese Island, where you guys have to go to the railway station to buy railway tickets. And on trains, they have different kinds of seats and so on. So you can either sit on the train or you can get a berth, like a bed on the train. And the word for beds on the train includes this word 卧. So 卧 means to lie down, literally. We already know 室 from, for example, the word for classroom, 教室. 教室. So a 卧室, 卧室, is a place where, a room where one lies down or one sleeps. So we've got some more words relating to a house, which is very handy. So we have the word for a sitting room, or what we would call a lounge room, or even to some degree a family room in Australia, and that is 客厅. 客厅. And again, that's made up of two characters that we've seen before. 客, 客, as in guest, and 厅. We've actually seen it in an earlier lesson in this word, 餐厅. That doesn't come up in this list, but 餐厅, 餐 is a meal. 厅 is a room or a hall. Different scale, I know, but I guess in a sense, a 客厅 or a 餐厅 might be sort of slightly larger rooms in a house. But anyhow, so the word for a sitting room or a lounge room or a family room is 客厅. It's a room where you host guests, and of course by extension the word 餐厅, which is what we would call a dining room. This is in a house, but 餐厅 can also be the bigger kind of dining room, like in a university and so on. Okay, another handy word, 厨房. 厨房. And actually we learned this word in first semester. We learned this in Chinese 1 when we were on Chinese Island again, and you guys had to go and buy the ingredients to make dumplings, 水饺, 水饺, and then you had to take them back to the kitchen. And Jing Jing, the waitress, gave you those instructions and said that you can come back, 你可以在这里的厨房做水饺. So you can make your dumplings in the kitchen. So that's that expression, 厨房. And so actually, interestingly, we have, look at it, we have 4 words for room here. Let's just look at the word for bathroom first. 卫生间. 卫生间. And again, on Chinese Island, in the second lesson that was done last semester, when you guys were exploring the restaurant there, one of the quiz questions was about an alternative word for toilet or bathroom. And you guys went upstairs to the second floor, and there was male and female toilets. And outside the toilets, there was signs which said 卫生间. So the 卫生 part of it is means hygiene. So that's this bit. Those first 2 characters is hygiene. And I just mentioned before that we now have 4 words, for room. So we have 室, 厅, 房, and 间. It's interesting. I don't specifically know if there is concrete standards as to what can be called a 室 and what can be called a 厅 and so on. On the surface, I mean, words like 室 can be used with rooms that are used for things other than household purposes. So, for example, we've said before, 教室 for a classroom. Also, for office, now, I'm not sure that we've learned this one, but it's not a bad one to know, is 办公室 办公室 office. So there we've got the character 是, the word 是, for a room, and it's a room that's used for doing work, 办公. And in this case, in the household, it's for sleeping and so on. So anyhow, there's 4 words for room, and I guess you just sort of learn those specifically to whatever the context is that you're going to be talking about. Moving on, we also have the word for garage, 车库. 车库. So 车 we already know, which means a vehicle. 库 is a place where you store things. And if you look at the character, and I'm sorry, the scan is not brilliant, but let's see if I can make it bigger. So let's just move it here. If you have a look at the character 库, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because here is, where do we see that before? I was in the other list. Here is that outer part. So we've got the chimney, the roof, and the walls. And then inside, oh, that's right, it was up here when I was talking about, if we look at the measure word for a building here. Okay. So we've got sitting inside a building. And here we've got a car or a vehicle parked inside a building. So hopefully that will help you remember the expression 车库 for garage. We have another noun when we talk about the yard, so our backyard, front yard. 院子. 院子. So if we wanted to say, and I think this comes up in this lesson, if we wanted to say front yard, we would say 前院子. Oops. But we wouldn't write those characters, no. 前院子. Okay, or backyard, 后院子. So that's the word for a yard. And I mean, in China, they have a slightly different meaning to here. Their yards are different from our yards. They're often more courtyard style. So it's an open space in the middle of, 4 buildings or a number of buildings that surround it. But anyhow, it's still applicable. The word for tree, 树. 树. And it is. So the measure word for 树 is 棵, 一棵树. And you notice in the measure word, on the left-hand side, it has the character 木 for wood. So you can see the connection there. We now have sea, 海. 海. If you wanted to say the ocean, for example, you say 大海. That's the ocean, as against the sea. And in this dialogue, sea is used together with 边 to express the concept of the seaside. 海边. 海边, 去海边玩. So go to the seaside to enjoy yourself. 海边. Now, here's one that we've come across in a couple of different circumstances and with different meanings. So the word is 开. 开. Now, if I say, for example, 开车, that means to drive a vehicle. To drive a vehicle, okay? If I said 开门, and sorry about the funny way that character looks, that's just the font on this. 开门, it means to open a door. And you guys learned another one when you were in Chinese Island in the last lesson this semester where you guys got sick and you had to go to the hospital, and the doctor 医生给你们开了处方 oops 处方开处方 actually let me just put that 处方 which means to write out a prescription, to write out a prescription for medicine, 开处方. So you can see that 开 has a number of different meanings depending on how it's used. Just another one that you might be interested in. So in Chinese, when they talk about turning on the television, they talk about 开电视机开电视机电视机 is the word for television 电视机 television. So 开电视机 means to turn on, or the other one that could be also equally useful is 开灯 where 灯 equals light. So they talk about opening a light, but we would say to turn on a light. So 开 can also mean to turn on some kind of electrical appliance as well. This next one, 需要 so as it says here, it can be both a verb and a noun. So you could say, for example, 我需要你帮助我。我需要你帮助我。我需要你帮助我。I need you to help me. So there we can have it as a verb. But let's say, I don't know, in some kind of service situation where somebody's offering you a service, you could say, they might ask you, 你有什么需要? So, you know, what need do you have? So that's the first one, 我需要你帮助我, that's a verb, and then in the second one, 你有什么需要? That's where it's used as a noun. The final one here is our. So when we are talking about duration of time, so how long something goes on for, we might say it goes on for 1小时 or 1个小时. Okay, so when we're talking about duration of time, that's when we use this one, 2个小时.